Hey guys, it's Dr. Bell, and I wanted to take a few minutes to just go through some Cinema 4D render tips. And these tips can apply to those who have high-end graphics cards with a lot of RAM and they're just speed demons that may run into some issues as far as high polygon count, or even those of you guys who have those little dinosaur computers that are just barely trying to get out little low poly renderings. Hopefully, this applies to everybody, but we'll see. So, I set up this little video just to show you how smooth Cinema 4D renders. This is just a box, low polygon box, but there's lighting, there's shadow involved, and believe it or not, those things can hinder the speed of your render if you have a lot of things going on. And So let's just go into Cinema 4D and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. One thing I would suggest when you're about to render is make sure all your background programs are canceled. You don't want to have any, even like Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, anything that you have going on. Just close down everything. You really want to have your computer solely focused on Cinema 4D. So another thing is if you have a ton of frames, if your project is um, um, having issues because it's taking a long time because there's a lot of frames, if it's 30 seconds in length, if it's 60 seconds in length, you may want to consider even longer than that. You may want to consider breaking up the render, and I can show you how to do that shortly. Another thing is look at your objects panel here to see what's going on here. If you have tons of light, a lot of times you may have more lights than you need. Remove one and just kind of see how things look. If it's of course vital, then you may want to look at other things. Another thing, maybe consider if you have particles going on, you really want to work with that, or see how you can either remove those particles and use something else. If you can do without them, just go ahead and do without them in order to increase your render time. There's many different ways to do something. You just have to just research it or just play around with all sorts of different things. The high complicated polygon modeling that you're doing, sometimes that's also an issue that you have to contend with. So these are just things that you can think about initially. But we really want to check out what our render is looking like as far as going into the render settings. Alright, so I want you to open up your render settings, and you're going to see here that we got some things going on that we have to be concerned with. Number one, I want you to take a look at your width and your height under output. This shows what your resolution is going to be. Now, I think when you first open it up, it's going to be a higher resolution, probably like HD resolution, which is 1920 by 1080. For the purposes of our class, we really don't need that. If you look at your resolutions, there are different resolutions for different types of televisions. We're not really outputting for television, so we're not worried about 8K, 4K. We're not even really worried about standard high definition, full HD. For the purposes of what we're trying to do, 720 by 480 is fine. Or even if your dinosaur is really struggling, you want to go down to 640 by 480, which is perfectly fine. I just really want you to make sure that you're able to get something done. That's the goal. So, but for me, I was able to do 720 by 480 and get a fairly quick render. Now, of course, I'm only rendering a cube kind of moving, but that was fairly quick. Also, you want to make sure that where it says here frame range, you want all frames, all frames. Now, what I was saying before about breaking it up, if you wanted to break up your render, you could. Just say you have a very complicated render and you want to, you don't want to take 20 days to render it. You want to just break it up. So just say, okay, instead of all frames 0 to 242, you can go to 0 to 30, and then 30 to 60, and then 60 to 90, and then whatever. And that way you can actually manage when you are rendering. Even if you wanted to save your file to like a flash drive and take it to another computer, you can actually be rendering two portions of your video at the same time. Just a thought. But all frames definitely need to be selected. Another thing is our renderer. Don't worry about that. Actually, we want to go to save and make sure you save it at the perfect place so you can find it easily. Format needs to be, for the purposes of a smaller file, MP4. Now, if you don't see MP4, which you should, you can do, AVI is going to be a very large file size, and WMV is probably going to be large as well, but MP4 should be in your selection, so you should be able to see it. If you don't, please let me know. Everything else you can keep the same. So I just said render to picture viewer, but if you look here, you'll see this is the picture viewer. It's rendering out as an MP4 file, and you'll see all of these frames going by, and in general it's a smooth process. Now, results may vary, so please don't come screaming to me that, hey man, this is what you said didn't work. It's all about trial and error. It's all about just testing, and if you do have a problem, yes, feel free to let me know. So we get to the end, and there you have it, folks. Now, of course, when we play the video, hopefully it runs as smooth as this. Now, it's all about trial and error, but do not wait till the last minute to start thinking about rendering your file. I would say that if you have some extra time to just do a test, do this. Create a new file, put a cube on a landscape, put one light or two like I did, and just then do some test renders just to see how your computer is handling rendering, period, because you just never know. I think this should help everybody. And with that being said, this is Dr. Bell. Have a great day, guys. If you have problems, please let me know.